What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. With this episode, in the addition to Bolt Charge and all of those artifact mods that tie into Arc, Void, and Volatile, it is no surprise that these are included in some of the top tier builds right now. But I thought to myself, it's time for a little bit of a challenge, and I wanted to return to my Hunter roots, and that's why I wanted to showcase one of my absolute favorite builds that I've ever used on Hunter. Now, I first got started with this build, or a version of this build, back before Final Shape when Pantheon and Onslaught got added into the game. Those activities were just so much fun to use. I had no idea what DPS metas were, and this build was able to shine. But now, with episode Heresy, I wanted to put this build back together, but with a little bit of a twist. So let's dive on into the details of what this Hunter build is, but also what makes it so versatile and oh so much fun to use. First up, we are going with Prismatic Hunter. This is arguably one of the strongest and most fun Hunter subclasses to use right now. Sure, you could go with a full Void build or a full Solar build and still have an amazing build, but I absolutely love the abilities that you get with Prismatic Hunter, especially when you combine it with new mods as well as all the artifact perks you can choose from. So for the super, we're going with Shadow Shot Deadfall. To nobody's surprise, this super is utterly fantastic because not only does it tether multiple enemies together, it also weakens and suppresses them. It basically helps you take care of a large group of adds all at once. It stuns overload champions, which can be super nice in a pinch, but most of the supers on Prismatic Hunter don't really seem to have great versatility or damage unless you're running Golden Gun with Celestial Nighthawk. But Deadfall easily is one of the best supers on Prismatic Hunter for any activity you decide to play. For the melee, I'm opting to go with Threaded Spike. Now, you do have a couple options here, but Threaded Spike is what I'm going with solely because I want to build heavily into Strand. Throwing a Threaded Spike will sever those targets as you hit them, plus it does refund melee energy based on how many targets you hit. It basically allows you to have a higher uptime on your ability, sever targets, meaning they're going to do less damage to you, which just helps you survive more. You can also make the case for Withering Blade as a different option, especially because it does have the ability to stun overload champions as well as freeze unstoppable champions, which then by shattering them will stun them as well. It does make a great option for any in-game content you want to play. However, I do prefer the fun factor of Threaded Spike, plus the synergy with Strand right now is just too good to pass up. For grenades, we are going with Grapple Grenade. The synergy here also is too good to pass up. You can grapple onto a tangle after you create it, which will refund your grenade energy 100%. So not only does the grapple also unravel targets when you use your melee after grappling, and it does count as a powered melee hit, it just makes a perfect pairing to synergize with all of the Strand abilities that you're going to have with this build. Now, when it comes to our aspects, we're using Stylus Executioner. Not only will this give us True Sight, but it will also give us the ability to go invisible after defeating any target that has been debuffed. And for our second aspect, we are going to be using Ascension. This not only is going to let us stun overload champions by jolting them, it's going to, one, provide another debuff to enemies, so procs with Stylus Executioner. It also makes us amplified, which is going to do a few things. Firstly, it's going to grant damage reduction, and it's going to give us plus 50 to our mobility stat, meaning that as long as we're running at least 50 mobility on our armor, we're pretty much always going to have 100 mobility on our armor, giving us the highest uptime on our class ability. There also is another option here that you could use, which is Winter Shroud. This is really a solid choice since it, one, can slow enemies, stunning overloads as well as providing a debuff too. Both are great options. I do prefer Ascension. It is a phenomenal pick here. Now let's talk about our fragments. These are going to be crucial to enhancing the build. First up, you've got Facet of Dawn, which is an absolute must for powered melee hits, as it makes you radiant, boosting your damage, as well as giving your loadout the ability to stun barrier champions. Next, we've got Facet of Sacrifice. This is going to grant bonus Darkness Transcendence energy when we have an Arc, Solar, or Void debuff active, which with this build is going to be all of the time. Next up, we've got Facet of Purpose. This is going to give us an overshield when we pick up an Orb of Power, and Facet of Protection, because when we're surrounded, we're going to have increased damage resistance, which is going to be enhanced when we're in our Transcendence. It's going to be vital for in-game content survivability, and it definitely is a must-have pick here. Finally, we're running Facet of Solitude. Might be a bit of an overkill, but this fragment lets you trigger a Severing Blast when just landing rapid precision hits. So when you're in your Transcendence, that blast will be even bigger. This is really going to help synergize further with the Strand aspects of this build and the artifact mods that we're going to be pairing it with. But before we get into that, let's talk about the loadout. First up, we're using the brand new Strand Heavy Burst Hand Cannon, the Unloved. This weapon can roll with Tear, which makes precision final blows cause nearby targets to become severed, pairing perfectly with the Facet of Solitude. And if that's not enough, it also has hatchlings, so rapid kills spawn threadlings, which can deal more damage to other targets. And if you pair a hand cannon like this with Lucky Pants, it makes it absolutely insane. This exotic has a ton of synergy with this build. Not only is it going to improve your slide, your sprint, and your airborne effectiveness, but for 6 seconds after you swap to your hand cannon, each hit is going to deal an increased damage of 45%, maxing out at a stack of 10, meaning your hand cannon will ramp up to a massive increase to 450% more damage. Yes, I know it did get a little bit of a nerf and a rework, but it is still incredibly powerful and adds so much fun to this build because your primary can act like it's a high damage weapon at the same time. For our secondary, I would recommend either a rocket assisted sidearm or an area denial grenade launcher. Personally, I'm going with the brand new Lotus Eater. It's a fantastic new rocket sidearm that can roll with destabilizing rounds and repulsor brace, which makes enemies volatile and gives you an overshield when you defeat those void debuff targets. Though those perks are not necessary, especially because you have some great stuff in the artifacts mod, but I find that having an overshield and volatile up at a moment's notice with this roll is too good to pass up. Now for our heavy weapon and our exotic of choice, we are going with Sleeper's Simulant. You don't have to use this exotic. You can use whatever exotic you want, but I find that this is a powerhouse of a linear fusion rifle that directly benefits from the current artifact mod. Plus, it deals massive damage alone to any target that it hits. So now that we're done talking about our loadout, how are the artifact mods going to directly tie into and benefit our build? For Sleeper Simulant, we're going to be using Unstoppable Fusion. This is going to help allow us to stun unstoppable champions, and then we're going to pair that further with Particle Deconstruction to further boost the damage that we can do on sustained hits with our Sleeper Simulant. For our hand cannon, it's already gotten a ton of love with Lucky Pants, but we're also going to toss on Unraveling Orbs to give our Strand weapon the ability to unravel targets when you pick up an orb or throw a tangle. This can also be boosted through the Tome of Want if you want to do more damage to those enemies that are affected by that Strand debuff. We're also going to be using Horde Shuttle. This is going to spawn threadlings when you damage unraveled targets, which just further complements the hatchling we're already using on this roll. And then there's Disruptor Spike to improve the effects of Exhaust and Sever. So we're going to be severing targets a lot. Why not improve it, right? Now, let's break down the armor mods. So for our helmet, we're going to be running our Harmonic Siphon for Strand, as well as a Void Siphon for the Lotus Eater. That way we can create orbs on multi-kills. And then, of course, we're going to toss on a heavy ammo finder just to give a little bit of love to the Sleeper Simulant. For your gauntlets, though, we're going to be using heavy-handed on the gauntlets to create orbs of power from your powered melee kills. And then a Strand loader because, frankly, Unloved reloads really slow, and that drives me crazy. For the chest piece, we're going to be matching our resistance mods to whatever activity we are doing, meaning those will change and should change from activity to activity. But for the Lucky Pants, we're going to be tossing on a Strand Surge for further increased damage with our Unloved, though it's not a necessity, but why not get as much out of our primary as we can? Then we're also going to be using Better Already to immediately start health regen when we pick up an orb, and then Absolution to gain ability energy for all of our abilities when we pick up that orb of power. Lastly, there's the class item. We've got Disruption to reduce all ability cooldowns when we use our class ability near enemies, as well as Bomber to further reduce our grenade cooldown at the same time. Finally, we have Special Ammo Finisher to create special ammo when finishing enemies. But there you have it, folks. This Hunter build is an absolute beast and is so much fun to play, especially with all the new weapons and all of the new artifact mods that are out right now. Between being able to go invisible, debuffing enemies, and having the ability to deal massive damage at the same time, it's a build you just have to try. Let me know in the comments what you think about it and how would you make this build your own. There will be a dim link down below if you do want to check out the Loadout and give it a shot. Don't forget to stop by our Twitch every Monday, Friday, and Saturday for some fun content where we're always playing with chat, whether it's dungeons, raids, PvE, or PvP. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you guys are new. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.